Dearest listeners, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to this most delightful auditory experience. As you embark on this journey, prepare to be enchanted by tales of scandal, romance, and the intricate dance of high society. For in this world, appearances are everything, and secrets are the currency of the realm. Is this yours truly, Lady Whistledown? No, it's Nutty. This is Nuke Joss, and this is Dinner and a Movie. So today we're going to be talking about the Netflix series Bridgerton. I have not read the books, and from what I've heard of the books, I'm glad I have not read the books. There is something intriguing about what if fiction. I know that some people get a little upset. They're like, oh, their costumes aren't right, and the history's not right, and this isn't right. But you don't realize that the show, at least, I believe the books don't have this, but the show is historical fiction. It is speculative historical fiction, and it is a big what if. What if the rumors of Queen Charlotte were actually true, and she were black, and because of this, King George changed all of society and elevated classes of people, elevated people that in our history were oppressed into high society, and that there truly was integration amongst various races within that structure, within at least England. We never actually see outside of England, but we do get that idea that it is, well, at least the UK, I will say, because there is characters that, you know, have estates in Scotland and so forth. And I believe Ireland as well. So we definitely are seeing that it is it is different than our society. And it is also a relatively new, as they call it, the grand experiment. And there's often thoughts that the experiment could fail at any moment and yada, yada. So it gives you all of the fun, all of the intrigue, all of that. I'd love to think about history, except for, you know, go back and have fun with the pretty costumes and the pretty dances, except for that whole, like, people are being oppressed so much more horribly, and it would be terrible to go back to. So we get to have fun in this world and not have to worry about any of those things. So I highly, recommend that if you are watching it, you are doing it with that lens on, understanding this is speculative fiction. This is genre fiction. This is what most sci-fi fans are into. Okay, there's not the science fiction element, but there's definitely that speculative fiction, that historical what if element, and we all love that sort of thing. So this is a very different kind of period piece. There is the other thing that people are very familiar is modern music being played by chamber instruments and quartets and things like that on the pianoforte and so forth. So it's definitely bringing those modern sensibilities and kind of touchstones. And it's based off, I believe it's a romance series, so there's a lot of that, and it's just fun. There's a lot of, oh, but that wouldn't happen. Of course. We are seeing how that even though racial relations are much better, there's still a lot of discrimination amongst the genders or the sexes, or however you want to say that. If you are female presenting or not cis het presenting, you are, or male presenting, you are have less choices. There are things that you can do and things that you can't do, and so you are all of that is still there. So we have that piece of it. So you get to have that struggle and so forth. I watched the first season and I thought, okay, this is a lot of fun. Everybody got really excited. I watched the second season and I said, okay. I was not really biting at the bit to watch the third season, and that's when we canceled Netflix. And everybody has been talking about it. And what I've heard is if you didn't like Penelope's character, then you're not going to like the third season because it's very Penelope centered. And all I can think is, but I love Penelope. She's the main character, isn't she? I mean, it may be called Bridgerton, but it is not about that. I mean, the Bridgerton family is definitely part of it, but it's definitely, this is all from Penelope's point of view. So to me, that sounded like a great idea. Well, my mom, when she was here, she logged into Netflix and, lo and behold, that Netflix login is still working. So I'm going to continue using it until I get kicked out. But I was able to go through and I was able to watch the third season. And you know what? It's the best season so far, I think. Definitely got some quips and quabbles. There is definitely a whole bunch of uproar on the internet and on reactions of, oh my goodness, it's a fat woman and she's got a leading storyline and she's not being told to lose weight and all of this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, first off, she has a round face and that's about it. She is by far, I mean, yeah, she's not that tiny little waif, but she is not what, if you saw her in real life, you would not describe her such. And that's okay. I have no problem with that as a descriptor. I am a fat woman myself. I identify as a fat woman. I identify this way because it is not a 4-letter word and it is totally fine. But it is nice to always get a little bit of, oh, hey, everybody has the option of romance. There were definitely times where I was like, oh, come on. And there's definitely a whole bunch of, wait, but shouldn't it be Penelope and, oh, what's the other sister's name? I can't remember. The bookie one. Anyway, the so-called radical that got totally scared out of being a radical. It kind of felt like that was happening, but no, I don't feel that anymore. They're definitely friends, and that's it. But yeah, so where was I? Absolutely. So the whole series is just, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of silliness, and I enjoyed it. I liked it, and I think that it is a fun little show, and I don't mind this. I really liked The Great, and in The Great, there were various races used, but they never brought it up. It was just, oh, we're just going to cast whatever. And that was fine because it was a lot of fun, but it was still kind of, historical fiction. I really enjoy the idea of saying, hey, what if things were different? What if things had changed back then? And I love this idea because it means that there's a whole universe, a whole series of events. How does that affect everything else that happens, and that's that I'm really interested in. How does that affect the rest of the course of history? How does that affect as we go forward? So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun time. I am going to pair this with, and I guess I should throw on afterwards. I did watch the Queen Charlotte show. I am not as big a fan of the Queen Charlotte show, but it ended up being something that I'm glad I watched all of it because it became really interesting, and it really dove into the idea that King George had mental illness all throughout his life and not just in the early or in the later days, but it really kind of showed how there was a lot of love there, and it was really interesting, kind of prequel sort of thing. And I enjoy that. The other thing I really enjoyed about, and this ties in with the Queen Charlotte, because in the first 2 seasons, you're only really learning and exploring with the children, rather, they're the young hotness, right? And then the parents are there just like scheming to try to make things work, but really they don't have agency of their own. The older people are just kind of there as gossips or as, matchmakers and so forth. And because I think Queen Charlotte happened in between, I'm not sure. Because of that, the mother of the Bridgertons and Lady Danbury, they have a much bigger role, and there's a lot more about their personal lives, which is really good because then we get to we get to season 3 and their courtships and friendships and intrigue are now very important. And I think that that was a really good addition because, I mean, we can't be following these kids all the time. Like, they get matched up and then they're done. And there's only so many Bridgerton children. So you got to add a little extra something. So I'm glad that they did that. But yeah, I'm enjoying this space. It is totally fluffy. It is not serious. It is just a lot of fun. And sometimes that's all you need. So I am going to pair this with lemonade because it's all about the lemonade, and finger sandwiches, not made of fingers, unfortunately.
Nutty Bites is produced by Nimlas Studios under a Creative Commons Attribution No Commercial Non-Derivatives 3.0 International License. That means you can't change it without my permission. You can share it and send it to your friends. Just link back to me, my site, and everything. We live at nimlas.org, which has links to everything social media, including facebook.com/group/nuttybites and patreon.com/nukejoss, or call 347-NUTTY42.